Jay Baba. Welcome all to Breaking Bank number 27. Gonna call this What Happens. And got a great interaction from Darrow in Tucson, Arizona. And it's been a while. And I want to take you through our interactions. And then I want to answer Darrow's questions, because I think they really relate to everyone. And I said a long time ago I'd make a video about it. And now that I have a place to do that, I'm going to do that. Yay. So let's just read through the emails here and kind of bring you up to speed on what we're talking about. And then I'm going to go back through the email and I'm going to answer the questions as best as I can. Okay. From Dara. Grateful greetings, Jack. I met you at the FedEx office in Tucson, Arizona, where I was working. So I go into, where I do my work, post office, FedEx, different places, right? And I help those people because they're helping me. So anyway, I talk with them about reality. If they're interested, I continue. Okay. Earlier that week before I met you, I had learned about Michael Tellinger and the Ubuntu community of South Africa, and I learned about Michael's bringing down the banks in South Africa in a court of law. This timing in my life made me very open to your introduction when I met you. That's great to hear. Some people may know this. I worked with the Ubuntu presidential candidate in America and did a radio show with him. 70 of them, 2 hours long. And they're still out there on Blog Talk Radio. I was very busy at the time and looking for someone with popularity to get the word out about my work. And he had that, but he kept bringing people on the show that had no truth. And then after 70 shows, I finally realized, really, I'm the only one with truth and proof in the work I do. After interviewing so many and I mean, scouring, Facebook and anyone and everyone. Uh, just that was strangely what turned out to be true. So that's a little bit about Michael Tellinger, the Mr. Promissory Note liar. Um, anyway, I don't see. Here's the issue with a promissory note. Michael Tellinger's saying, you've already signed a promissory note, and that already paid it. Why would you have to do a second one? Do you see how simple and wrong his work is? You already did that. Why would doing it a second time, anyway, watch my videos, but it's just a basic here. Okay, so let's keep going. Thank you for your introduction at this time in my life and for being so open as to tell me about what your purpose is, even as a complete stranger. I am grateful for having the opportunity to meet you. Well, that's very kind, because I don't get that reaction very often, and so it was meaningful to have it, and for me as well, both of us, which is great. I'm writing to you because I, like everyone that messes you, I'm sure, want to free myself from debt and from the tyranny that consumes most of us financially and consciously. I want to be free, to live my purpose, and to not go to a job I hate day after day, just to continually struggle my way out of the debt, inch by inch, with no relief in sight. I'm writing to you because I have three main goals that I hope.
Power off.
Sorry about that. I had a speaker on. My bad. Uh, I'm writing to you because I have, and I'm using it as the, oh, it's not coming to me. Anyway, let's just continue with this. I'm writing to you because I have three main goals that I hope you can help me achieve. I just think that paragraph, everyone can relate to that paragraph, right? I mean, this is a system we're born into under the dome. What that paragraph just describes right there. And it's just, you know, we're supposed to go a lifetime and not notice what you just wrote there. And it's there all day, every day. So, okay. Ooh, that's so deep. Let's go to the next part here. I would like to get, well, number one, I would like to get a car so I can start my own business, music lessons, Uber, car driving, and pressure washing. That's 3 businesses. I am very interested in your service that you've shown to get your 2015 Toyota Tundra for free. Yeah, okay, well, it's still sitting right here, right where I am in the driveway. I'm working on the title, so I'm going to address number one. Let's just do it as we go through it. I'm not going to come back through it. I'll do everything as I go through it. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so there are a couple things in this number one actually that I want to address. Go back, anyone watching this, and watch the Breaking Bank. That what is a person? Okay, I would like to get a car. I mean, you see, when you have to understand the difference between business entities here. Okay, first of all, excuse me, people are not persons. So when you say I would like, think of it like you have a to-do list, right? Um, and you write it down. I recommend this to people actually, so I want to give you this tool in this video. I recommend, when you write a to-do list, so maybe bullet points so you don't forget it, right? I do that a lot. But now I add something to that, and that is I have separate pages for each corporate entity and one for the non-corporate entity, right? The human. So I write separate to-do lists. For the person, like the corporate entity person, oh, I got to do these things. The driver's license is coming up. I'm going to need one for the person. Let's say you have a Uber cab driving, LLC. Then that Uber cab driving LLC would need the credit, right? Not you, not I, right? Would need the corporate credit to go get a car. Or your person could get a car and rent it to your Uber cab driving corporation. Or your trust could just, have a vehicle you paid cash for, right? Try not to, or don't put assets into a trust that have a lien on them. Okay, don't create conflict within a trust. Do that in other corporate entities and their corporate entities. Okay, so please watch What is a Person, to come up to speed. And I know you wrote this a long time ago, Darrow, so I'm not in any way giving you a hard time. You're probably up to speed on all my work and whatever. But I'm just using this as an illustration because a lot of times people with their first interaction with me have a very similar reaction. So I really appreciate you taking the time to write this out, and I thought so much of it. I wanted to make a video, so thanks with your patience. I'm waiting until I could actually make it. Uh, so what you would want to consider doing is have a corporate entity for each of those businesses that you bring up. And you should access corporate credit through the EIN of that corporate entity. Like you shouldn't really be using your person, that corporate entity, to transact in any way, any kind of business. You should never do that. You should never have a bank account with the person. Really, you should never do that. So you start banking under a trust instead, or your other corporate entities, and so you bank in with different corporate entities, different businesses. So one maybe a trust or a couple trusts, and maybe an LLC or something like that for different reasons. So You wouldn't want to do Uber cab driving under your person. You know what I mean? All your assets are then at risk that you have in your person, and you wouldn't want to be doing Uber cab driving out there with any real assets. Because if you got in any trouble out there, those assets would be at risk, including the vehicle. So it's better to lease a vehicle, to do Uber cab driving. Um, and the pressure washing, okay, there wouldn't be many assets in that, so, maybe a trust would work for that, or an LLC or a C Corp, S Corp, non-profit, for different reasons. Music lessons, same, many options available for corporate entities. And that you've shown to get your 2015, yeah, you want a free vehicle, I know. Well, I mean, you access, credit through a corporate entity. Person is the one most people are used to getting corporate credit with, and then you go get it, and then you'd check to see if you owed the debt, and then you'd use my work to remove the debt if they couldn't prove it. I've been told for spiritual reasons, which I don't know why, but I just follow orders, that I'm supposed to work on completing the Toyota Tundra issue when I return from India, and so I will be doing it then. So really, I did sign a promissory note. They did accept the promissory note. Um, that occurred, and all that paperwork showed it with Toyota Tundra. They couldn't come up with the paperwork. In fact, two businesses say they're the same business, and that they don't have to show any records beyond a copy or anything, and they have a 5-year out of date license. I've shown all that. So really, I'm not supposed to do anything before I get back on the Toyota Tundra. But after I thought about it, it's really quite simple. The issue is, I went into a Toyota dealer and filled out a bunch of paperwork. And in that Toyota dealer, it turns out they're running up this, banking scam right inside the place where they're selling cars. I didn't go anywhere else, okay? So, I feel like they sucked me into this whole thing. They did. I'm in their physical building. That's where it happened. So, a car dealer's got a lot of assets and a lot of risk, so it's really going to be simple just to put a notice of lien on their property when I get back. I'll get paid. It'll be running about 25% interest or something like that. Maybe it's at that rate, so it's a little lower, but still, the money will be like racking up, and their corporate credit will be tanked as a result of it, and they won't be able to get, they won't be able to refinance their assets, which they have to do regularly. Like that property they have over there at the corner of Market and in Wilmington, North Carolina, at the corner of Market and Eastwood. There, it's a big property. They've had it for a while. Oh, let's put this back on. My bad. They've had it for a while. And so I know they use that property to access the credit to get the vehicles and so on. So, and then they, have those vehicles too. So that notice of lien can be put out there. I'm sure, if it goes on, we can go to UCC filing of the notice of lien. I haven't brought that up in my work yet, but that gives international notice. The UCC, notices of a debt being owed. So we can keep right on going. There, my offer of accepting the title has been on the table, and all they have to do is show their love for God, and that's all I do with the vehicle is reveal truth and reveal God. So they feel like they need to be in opposition to God, so I'll continue to explain that really, you shouldn't be in opposition to God. You should be truthful. You shouldn't lie. So we can keep going. Anyway, so a little bit about number one there, Darrow. Number two, I have over 40,000 of federal student loan debt, and I would like to have relieved so that I may one day move to off-grid style living where I am able to sustainably provide for myself and others with no money needed. I mean, what a... Darrow, I read this, I was like, Darrow is something, right? I need to do a video. So number two, again, look over the person thing. I have over 40. You don't have it. Your person allegedly does, and they don't have the proof. Many people have removed their student loans just by simply asking for proof. And then when they don't have the proof, excuse me, then you need to enforce the removal of that debt. That's very important. And that's it's accounting work. That's all it is. Anybody doing something illegal, trying to illegally collect debt, needs to be held accountable, and so that's what my work does. I'm an accountant. Let's go on to number three. I would like to, let's do the end of number two because I really like it. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. Sustainably provide for myself and others. I mean, that's, serving others, right? Mastery and servitude. You serve God, and he said, well, serve me, and I'll tell you what to do and how to serve others. And so really, number two is right there, and an extremely godly choice. So, but no money needed. They have money out here. Bitcoin's the new up-and-comer of the new scam money. So, once the currency, this paper, goes away, and it's starting to go away in China and India, see, they're squeezing the paper now over there, and they're gonna start doing that everywhere, and they'll just pick them off one at a time, and then they'll move over to, if you look at Bitcoin, it's a B, allegedly, like a Bitcoin, but if you look at it more closely, it's a 3 over an 11, which is 33, which is Satan's money. They say, oh, it's very definable what the money is and stuff, and it's not like this whole fractional reserve scam. No, it's a different scam. You can't see anything ever. It's an electronic fake scam, the whole thing. And once in a while there'll be hackers, quote, right? That get in there and hack something, and then all this Bitcoin is gone. Like when Mt. Gox, GOX, was this huge Bitcoin exchange, and it just went under. In other words, it was the largest place where Bitcoins were traded and everything, and then it went under. Meaning all that Bitcoin people couldn't get access to. So where did it go? Who's got it? You understand? So the new scam is just like they make up a story and then they just take all your money. It's ludicrous, right? Okay, so we're going to all have to get to use Bitcoin or something very similar, right? So think about Bitcoin like this. I'm going to do a lot as I go through Darrow's thing, apparently. Think about Bitcoin like this. Don't hold assets in Bitcoin. It's not an asset. It's a method of transaction. Okay, it's just you're transacting with someone. Okay, give me X Bitcoin. Okay, then you can shove it into something right away. Dollars or gold or whatever. You don't want to just let it. Bitcoin is very volatile, so you don't want to. It's for transacting, not holding as an asset. It's not a asset that just sits there. It's a method of transaction, and depending on how they're monkeying with it is whether it's up or down that day. And you and I have no control over that, so just don't hold assets there. Okay. Number 3. I would like to improve my credit, which has all accounts and collections and derogatory marks so they may purchase land one day and sustainably provide for myself and others with farming and no money needed to regularly pay for the property. Is this possible? It's very difficult, and once you can access credit and get used to that and kind of like run business and so on, sure, some of your businesses that you build up huge credit for may bankrupt, and that credit may be, hey, donate it elsewhere into a trust or so on. And you may have access to that. And there are methods for doing that. And that comes over time with using the tools I have. Okay. Um, but to fight the quote government, right? The mind control in God, we, me, 33 corporation, right? The Satanists, the liars. In order to fight the liars over taxes, you really have to really want to spend a lot of time and energy on that. And I'm not saying that's not a worthy battle to have. I'm just saying most battles are like they take away our energy from our sole purpose. So I don't like to have many of them. I do it because of my work, my job, my work, right? As Christian minister, as a minister for God, right? As is to expose the liars. So for me, I'm out, you know, going right up at this because everything they're doing is illegal. Okay, every debt is collected illegally. I'm gonna break this down in a short video. That all debt is collected illegally. Coming up after this one will be Breaking Bank 28. So take a look at that one coming up. I won't get into that. I'll just do a short video on that. But that's a fact. They don't have the proof, you see. Like, you have to have proof to collect the debt, and they don't have it. It's really that simple. Um, okay, the the debt removal package, especially with its updates and so on, that improving my credit. You mean your person's, and you have to learn to improve credit of another corporate entity type. Whichever you're using, like LLC and so on. I do not have that package available right now, but I will be having that package, and you're not ready for it yet anyway. So, but yeah, you can have a farm and so on. It takes time to work towards it, but yes, definitely, that's the work I do, showing that that's possible. Number 3. Okay, let's go up. Of course, I would like to reach all of these goals legally, without confrontation, without stress, without fear that I might be arrested, fined, and imprisoned. Okay, well, without stress. Okay. Well, stress we make for ourselves. So I can't do that. So you don't worry, be happy, and do your best. Remove stress. So remove that. And removes fear. But so you have to follow God's common law of the updated common law, right? The old common law from Jesus was do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And then Meher Baba came, Jesus came again, as Meher Baba, and updated the common law, which is really the same common law, but he updated it into new words, which are don't worry, be happy, and do your best. Okay? So it's against God to have fear and stress. Okay? That is a satanic curse upon yourself, which God says to remove. And he wants your worries directly, so you give them to God. But let's see, that might be arrested, fined, and imprisoned. Okay. I've only been arrested for marijuana, okay, ever. And that was the only chink in the armor I used to have, and fined and imprisoned. That was the only thing they could find on me. I was just born with digestive problems, and I'd spit blood a lot, commonly. And then that stopped it, so really it was saving my life to use it. So I had to do that for those reasons. So all the work that I do, the paperwork and so on, is legal. It's just accounting. It's absolutely the same paperwork that they use. I'm a plagiarist. I'm an auditor. Okay, in other words, I went and looked at the paperwork and how this is done correctly, and then I used that paperwork. I copied it. Why would I try? Why would it be out there? Like, I've tried everything that I've ever seen. pretty much, of anything. I just didn't care. I was like, well, let me try it. I've never been arrested, fined, or in prison for any paperwork, anything. I've done a lot of things. UCC 1 plus addendum 6 times. Filed, with Secretary of State, North Carolina. I have filed for, the circulars with the Federal Reserve to get, the Visa Black debit card, and successfully did that and linked, you know, uh, that via a treasury account to a bank account, a checking account for the person, and watch, the debit purchases I make disappear. And over the weekend until they switched it all off on Monday. So all that is true, what they do, and I did it legally. I was actually able to accomplish what the top Illuminati were able to do. But because I'm not in the bloodline and I'm not with Satan, they're not going to allow me access to those funds. Okay, and I don't want access to those funds. If you got a sign in blood, I don't do any of this for the money. Let me make that absolutely clear. I never do this for the money. I do this for God. To expose God. How? By exposing Satan and the liars. It's like, if they're out there, with number 33 and, they're absolutely all with the devil. So if the devil's real, and let me tell you, the devil's so real because everyone's out there following me. In God we trust. Right? We mean 33. They're all following it. They're all bowing and worshiping the 50 pentagrams on the Luciferian, United States of America. America is a goddess. Lucifer is a goddess. God only comes in a male body. So any worship of any female entity is Luciferian devil worship. Okay, he never comes in a female form. Never. So, America, that woman standing out there in New York, right, is Lucifer. That's, their 50 pentagrams on the flag and their 13, Illuminati bloodlines on that flag. You're worshiping Satan, and it's under the Satanic Cult Trust. So, that produces stress. Like, that team is all about fear and stress. So, you don't go to prison for doing legal things, which is all I do is legal things only. So, except for in some locations, I've smoked some marijuana. That's the only thing they ever caught, and they hounded me until they, snatched me illegally from a bus stop when I was standing there. And I had like a gram of marijuana on me. Literally. And that was all it took, and they locked me up. They just snatched me. So, no one's out there like I am. No one. No human being is doing what I'm doing. Okay, they aren't. They're not. Some people that have seen my work, Justin Dahl, amazing. Johnny Frechette. I mean, there's some people I'm really blessed to work with that they're out there doing their individual lives and using my tools, and they're having success, which is all I want for anyone. Okay? And please keep doing that. Them and everyone. Please. That's the only way we can actually change things. But what I'm saying is I'm the only one doing the work, creating the work, and putting it out publicly. All of that. So they come after me. You know what I mean? I'm the one that all, sights of every gun and camera and everyone, like, they're all staring at me all the time, watching everything I do. So that's not the same of Darrow and anyone else. No one else is doing that. So, and I'm telling you, I haven't had these problems that you fear. I haven't had those problems. Okay, even though I'm doing it to this level, I still have not had those problems. Okay? What is the worst that could happen from my paperwork? What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? I'm trying to think. You could be out a couple of dollars from some mail, I guess. Yeah. You could be out a few bucks for mail. You could, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, uh, say you were sending something certified mail and, you used an address and they didn't sign. Well, you're going to have to go find another address, and send that mail again, for example. So you're at some money right there. That's like $6.40. And the printing and the uh, envelope. So that's like approaching, I don't know, $10 or something, maybe 8. So you could be out like $8. You know what I mean? So I guess that's the worst that could happen. I guess I'm trying to say that's the worst I can think of that I have had happen. Okay, you could be out $8. Okay, let's see what's next. If I take a loan out on a car following your steps and do not pay on that loan, what is the worst that can happen? They can come repo that vehicle. That's why I keep my vehicle chained to a tree wherever I go. I do. I just chain it to a tree wherever I go. It's pretty inexpensive and doesn't take that much time. I recommend it for everyone, you know, that gets a car loan. Everyone should be doing it the way I see it. Anyway, so, no, I mean, that's okay. Can I expect to be tried in court for what? Doing accounting? No, they don't try accountants in court. I'm sorry. Can I be tried? No, no. You try them in court. See, you don't get tried in court. It's so funny. Can I maybe expect someone to pay off the judge rule against me? Absolutely, can expect that all the time. Yes, you can expect that every time. But we have a solution with the notice of lien, and like I was just saying, you could do a UCC filing too, not just against their property. You could do it against their assets and their revenue and so on. So, oh, hello again. Okay, can can I expect you to be arrested? If you're doing illegal activities, right, you can expect to be arrested. If you start messing with the bankers like this, right, in other words, being truthful, they're gonna notice you. So they're gonna keep an eye on you. And so if you're doing some illegal things, they might notice you're doing some illegal things, and you might be arrested for those things. That's why I'm really above the radar with the work I do. So I don't do anything illegal. So they don't have that on me. They're not going to have that on me. And so, there's that. Can I expect to have the car seized from me if I do not park it behind a secure fenced area? Well, I chain it up like I said, so there. But a secure fenced area sounds awesome. What can I expect if I do not follow your instructions perfectly? I.e., what if I sign some security agreement? Well, that's fine if you sign, whatever. They have to produce it, and they don't have it. See, all debts collected illegally. Every lender has a license that says, okay, you can exchange. See, the money changers, like Jesus said, they change money. They do not lend money. They change it. They're alchemists, right? Alchemist means fucking liars. Pardon my French. So if you sign something that it went, see, 72 hours, their license allows them to, you sign something, and then their license says, okay, within 72 hours, after giving you Federal Reserve notes, right, in electronic form or check or paper or whatever, they're allowed to exchange those Federal Reserve promissory notes for your signed promissory note. Both have to be original. So, but their license says they can't keep that promissory note because they exchanged it for Federal Reserve notes. So it has to get to the Federal Reserve within 72 hours. See, does the Federal Reserve collect any debt? No, they don't. So, that's who has your security agreement that you signed. Everyone's actually, and they never collect on the debt. They just fake like a copy's good, but they don't take copies of their dollars, do they? See, the laws apply to you like they apply to them. If someone has a copy of the dollar, can they use that dollar? No, because someone can make another copy of the dollar and another and another and another. Copies cannot work. And besides, what is a copy? How do you know something is a copy of something? Has to be physically side by side, right? And then you examine them both and go, oh, that's a copy. And then you decide if it's a good copy or a bad copy or whatever. But it's still a copy, it's not the original. Only the original can be collected on, and they never have that. It's that simple. Okay. Waive my rights or whatever. They don't have it, so it doesn't. See, they have to have it that show that like, they came with a copy in court. See, here's the copy of what. It doesn't matter. You have to have the dollar bill at Walmart. They don't ask who had it before you had the dollar bill. They don't ask for a copy of the dollar bill. They don't ask for how did you get that dollar bill. They don't ask anything. Where's the dollar bill? You got it? Okay, that's it. Same with your whatever. They have to produce it. They can't do a history lesson, any other thing than the physical original is illegal to produce. It's against the law to produce a counterfeit, a forgery, or a copy is a forgery, a counterfeit. So a copy, if they produce that, that's illegal to give you that. It's against the law. They owe you money just by giving you a copy. It's the same for you at Walmart. It's so simple that it just leads me to the, almost undeniable fact that humans can't think logically. They do something every day of their whole life. They go to a store and they have to have the original dollar bill. And then they ask, which is a debt instrument. It's called a promissory note, a Federal Reserve note. It is a promissory note. Just like your promissory note. It's the same exact document. Has to be original. And so there's really almost no human being I can make that simple accounting rule clear to. No one seems to be able to take that in. See, all you do is say to someone that's trying to collect a debt, do you have the proof? Because what? Satan's a liar. And so anyone that's lying is with Satan, period. That's the way it works. Okay, so do they ever have the proof? No, they never have the proof. They can never produce the documents. Never. They never can. And if they do, it's a counterfeit, meaning it's a copy, or it's a forgery, meaning, oh, we're saying this is an original, which means it's a forgery. They produce it on the spot. Or beforehand, and they did a fake signature of a copy of yours. And so that happened to someone in court. So it in court happened in Florida. And it was so funny because look, we produced a note, and the guy, it was a man, right? And he was married at the time, and his wife's signature wasn't on the document. See, he was suing them about the property, so they just figured it was him, and they didn't do their homework and see that he was married. It was hilarious. Of course, they still tried to screw him over, right? I had to help him out and everything. But I'm just saying, like, it's hilarious. Their forgeries are always a wreck. Okay, let's keep going. So you don't need to really follow perfect instructions when you do my work. You can be arrested. Will your credit score be affected? Now we're getting to the good part. Yes, it'll get better. Will the car be taken? Well, depends. I keep it locked up until you remove the controversy. Have another vehicle if you're concerned about driving out there or whatever, and just keep it locked up. You can just, it's cheaper to get a storage space than it is to pay a car payment. Just lock it up while you sue them for free on and on like that. So that's one way to do it. let's go to what can I expect? I love that question. Obviously, I have far less knowledge of the legal system than you do. So would you think that it's safe for me to take on the achieving these goals by your method with such little knowledge of my own? Yes, I would recommend that to everyone because, see, in essence, all you're doing, people, is asking them for the proof of the debt, and either they have the original document or they don't. It's really that simple. Anyone can do that. And I've templated letters to ask all the right questions on them, using different laws or so on. But really, it's just, do you have that paperwork or do you not have it? And they never have it. So they always want to talk about something else. So yes, anyone can do this. It's very simple. In fact, if you don't know much, and it's okay not to, why would you? No one teaches these things, okay? I got my MBA. I got my master's in accounting too. They still didn't teach any of this stuff. None of it. Zero. Okay, so I had to learn it after. So I didn't I didn't learn any of this stuff in school. So you're not gonna learn it there. So you'd have to go out there and learn it on your own, the way I did. And I've compiled it in a way that people can use it simply. So I recommend, uh, it's easier to and more accurate. Really, it's not even a role you're playing. You're a wounded consumer. The banks have screwed you over and made you a slave to their debt with no proof that you owe. As you've described, all you do is work every day of your life like everyone, pretty much. And they have no proof that you owe them a penny. So your fear keeps you in chains, Dara, like most people. Okay. Is it wise to get a loan from the bank that I bank with? One that you're going to pay back, I recommend. You know what I mean? Like, do your hunting elsewhere than the bank you bank with. That's what I recommend. This is where my paychecks, yeah, same reason. This is where my paychecks, direct deposit, whom I have credit card with, my means by which I'm able to make purchases online and beyond. Is there a better place to put money so that it is unable to be tampered with? Who is it not wise to get a loan from? Great questions, man. I mean, I read this and I was like, oh, Darrow's going to answer a lot of people's questions. Okay. What great questions, Darrow. Thank you. You should not have a bank account for your person. You should have it for other corporate entities. And then only can that money be tampered with if that corporate entity did something. So do a lot of stuff with your person, you know what I mean? But don't bank with it so they can't come after assets. I recommend, if someone has a job, and this, a lot of people have jobs, so I just don't, I refuse that. But a lot of people do that, so here's a recommendation, and it's not always easy to achieve. Not always at your present employer, and I tried to help someone through this concept recently, and here it is again. Uh, you should operate a trust. That's what you should do. Okay, and if it's a ecclesiastical common law, irrevocable ecclesiastical trust, so, and you self-create it, so they have no jurisdiction over it, so no taxes are due if you operate it correctly. So, and it's, religious freedom, as they call it, even in their satanic trust, right? That you operate this common law trust, and you do, and you can, and so on. So, at your current, quote, employer or whatever, you would want to ask them, hey, I've made a religious decision to donate everything that I make to a religious trust. And so then actually that corporate entity would be receiving the money, and so no taxes are actually due. Whether your employer will go along with that legal, completely legal decision that you make is up to that employer, and they usually freak out and don't do it. So it is a negotiating point at a new, quote, job or whatever. I just can't even imagine having one at this point. So thank you all for doing all that work out there. You know, I serve people this way. So ultimately, you want to be doing your sole purpose and getting business credit and so on to help you through that. And if you're doing your sole purpose, you should be doing it because God chose you, because you're good at it. You're really good at your sole purpose. So people will start to, donate to you doing that as well, whatever that may be. So that'll be a revenue stream, and so that's fine too. So you're running businesses. That's the only possible thing that is happening out there. Like, people don't exist in commerce. They don't exist. People don't exist. Only corporate entities can bank, and then you relate to that corporate entity in some way, right? You're the president. You're the trustee. You're the beneficiary. You're the whatever. But we're not. You know, the CEO of Exxon is not Exxon. Exxon is Exxon. It's just a piece of paper. So, okay, I hope that helps. So don't do that. Don't mess up in any way who you bank with. Okay, there are plenty of other places to get credit cards. All right, if I work for some company, i.e. Uber, could they somehow become involved in not allowing me to drive for them with said car? I don't see how. Good accounting is a good idea. As you are someone who has a lot of experience with doing these things, what are the possible repercussions of following these methods? Wealth, I would say, and peace of mind. Meaning, and I use peace as, not a word to use in duality. Let's say, what are the possible repercussions? Well, the other team won't like you. Satan won't like you and will test you to see whether you're with God or not. Really, that's what will happen. And so your courage will be tested, and you'll find out, that doesn't cost any money or anything. That's just, you losing your mind control. So each individual has to do that on their own. And I recommend ask for God's help, because there's no freedom. Freedom is a hoax. You're either with Satan or with with God, the Creator. Creation proves a Creator. Creation didn't, appear for no reason whatsoever, right? And it didn't appear all on its own because it thought of itself to appear. No, that's not the way it happened. The big blah theory. Nope. There's a God. Creation proves that some entity put this here. There was nothing, it didn't exist, and then this exists. So something made that happen, and that's who Satan works against. You see how the Satanists reveal God? They must be here in duality. The shadow, the dark side, reveals God. So all you do is you switch over to that, and then there's you operate under the common law. You don't worry. You are happy, and you just do your best, and God takes care of the rest, because you directly give God those words. Okay. I would like to donate to you and your cause. It's not my cause. Oh no, it's each individual's cause to become one with God. It is not just my cause. And I work directly for God, and I share my work in public with everyone. It's all our cause. Each one's cause. It's God's cause. I guess it is mine as well, but so I'll accept that. All right. And I would like to help your cause any way that I can, so that humanity can one day be free as it should be, as it was always intended to be in the eyes of our Lord, in love, happiness, and without fear. Yes, in the eyes of our Lord. Yes. Yes. But that's not really freedom. You see what I'm saying? Like, There is no freedom. You worship the one, that Lord, right, that put you here. So there's nothing but that worship. There isn't anything but that, the love of God. If you have that and if you operate under that, then there's one rule you follow, right? One, the common law. You have to follow the common law if you're with God. It's a rule. And if you don't follow it, you're against God, and so you're with Satan. You're rejecting God's common law. You're revoking it by taking fear. So you cannot have fear. You must refuse it. You, by your choice to be with God, you must refuse fear. When it comes, you say the name of God, and that dispels fear. You have fear. We're trained to respond to it. We're trained to have it. So you say the name of God, Mir Baba, Jesus Christ. Mir Baba, you say the name, and God comes and removes the fear. And that is a fact. You must follow the common law. Otherwise, Satan will come and make you fearful, and you will take the contract of fear with Satan. There is no equivocation, and you will be tested. You will never not be tested, actually. You will always, throughout the entire lifetime, from now until the end, be tested. Always. Okay. As so many that you have conversations with, I am a skeptic. But my skepticism only stretches as far as fear, ignorance, and naivete of the law. Before I donate to you, I am looking for assurance. I would like to know what it is I'm getting myself into before I begin. I want to know what it is I have to lose. You have to lose your mind control. You have to lose your fear. That's what you have to lose. And in doing so, you might be surprised, as I was, that you will lose every single human being in your life. And every asset, possibly, I did in the beginning until I was awakened. I am able to wake people up myself now, from my knowledge. And so you don't have to lose everything and go to God. I can give you the information myself. I lost everything and went to God, and He gave me the information. He told me to tell everyone else. You don't have to do that part, but you have to lose your fear. That's the rule. And if you don't, you see, because when you're given the gift of nothing by God, and that's no family, no friends, no assets, no money, no nothing, then there's only God. And so there's only one you can ask for anything, right? And if you're given it, which I was, then there's no other possible place it can come from but God. The cure, the solution, everything that I have comes from God. So all glory is given to God for what I am and what I have. Everything. So, the assurance is the proof. Get in my, after this YouTube and the next one, I'm going to be filming all the pieces of the upcoming webinar I'm having about debt removal. You can get into it for, excuse me, any donation amount. Look for it on Facebook and on libertyaid.org website. Libertyaid.org is a publishing website of Christian Ministries Trust. ChristianMinistriesTrust.org also does its own work. So please look to there as I'm, uniting the East and West under the sign Trust of God, and it's hidden. No one knows. No one has seen the document but myself in the West. And I have a scanned copy of it, and I'm just gonna say it's real. It's totally real. It exists. There's the date it was signed on, and so on. Okay? It exists. And I'm the only human that has seen it in the West. And I'm going to ask, please, to the trustee, please, can we operate under God's signed trust? Please. So look on ChristianMinistriesTrust.org for that work as well. But this goes on, okay? Dara gets back to me. Thanks for the response. Is it Jack McKeag? Yes, it's Jack McKeag. Sounds good to me. I don't need anonymity. I said, can I use your name and so on in doing the video. I'm not sure how soon planning the video. Maybe you could respond to this email to my questions. I'm sure you've read Mary Elizabeth's Cross, right? Yes, I have. It's fake. She has no proof, but... And then also subscribing to email blasts. You recommend not declaring yourself a sovereign. Good. Yay. I just hope I haven't shot myself in the foot in doing so. No, you haven't, because it's not real. It's fake. I did so much fake paperwork. You know, and I've done every fake, everything. Like, I've done a sovereign thing. Oh my God, you should see mine. It's like 30 pages to the Secretary of the Treasury and so on. Like, I'm like, look. And it's all accurate to the whole system and everything. So I did that. So no worries. No, let all that go. Sovereignty is a hoax. Because sovereignty is freedom, right? I'm in head of it all, right? The sovereigns, quote, sovereigns, the royals, right? That's the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, right? They're not sovereign. They're fully possessed by demons. There is no human thought anymore. It is a demon working their mouth, their eyeballs, everything. There is not a human operating inside of those beings. They have committed themselves and their bloodline to complete possession in every way, shape, or form. So there is no sovereignty. The quote, sovereigns are not even human. Okay, they're demons in a host. They're not influenced. I think of, the demonic, satanic world as, I'm an American, Oh, you're a Luciferian. You don't know. You're an idiot, right? So that's just influence. That's mind control and influence. They don't have a high level possessed demon inside them. Every individual does have at least one demon in them. They do have that. And if you haven't gotten delivered, you have it in you. So you must know that. But as far as not having a human thought, they don't really have human thoughts anymore. The possessed. The fully possessed by choice in the bloodline, they do not, they're not really people. So they're not sovereign. And like I said, freedom's a hoax. You're on one team or the other. That's not sovereignty. The sovereign is our maker, okay? And the devil, he's not sovereign. He can't leave the dome. But they're not sovereign at all. They can give you some money or something, but that's about it. Sounds great. Let me know when it gets posted. Okay. All right, Darrow. Looks like I got like an hour video in on this one and answering your questions, and I think they related to a lot of people. And I want to thank you for choosing to let this be in public, because I absolutely respect people's privacy, and unless I ask and I get an unequivocal answer, yes, doing this in public is fine, then I don't do it, okay? Because everyone's privacy is their right, and I'm choosing not to be private on purpose because I'm serving God. Let me end now. Thank you, Dara, for those great questions. I'm going to end with a story from the Quran, okay? And I recommend people watch the Jinn series on YouTube, Jinn. Really great. It's a few errors, and obviously every cutout between each thing is, the balls of space, and all the rest of his work is a little bit difficult too, and the Quran is a lot of that Bible thumping stuff they do with the Quran too. The Quran is written about God. It's not written by God. Meher Baba wrote, okay? And in fact, he had others write for him, and he would edit it. you know. So Meher Baba's writings are God writing, his writings. And these other works are deeply important works, you know, deeply important works, the profound works of each of, you know, God's incarnations, like the Quran for, you know, Muhammad, like the Bible for Jesus, okay? Those are deeply important spiritual works that have been tampered with, you know, over time. So let's just keep that in mind. And it's people writing about God. It's not, you know, they're describing God's, you know, the things they witnessed. They're not God explaining them. You know, and then it's God explaining God's description. You see the difference. Meher explains it exactly, and like Jesus spoke in parables, Meher did not. He spoke directly, and it's just difficult for people to understand because they're mind control. So let's go to a story in the Quran because I think it really relates to every question that Darrow had, and it really relates to my work in general and all of our work. So I want to tell this brief, you know, it's in the Jinn series. You can watch the correct version. How's that? And there are other good things in there too. I think you'll learn a lot. JINN series, and it's very popular, so you'll find it right away. It'll be the first thing that pops up on YouTube. Okay, so a little paraphrase of that story from the Quran. All right, there was Shayateen, right? Satan was the jinn, right? Was in this guy's town, and they built this demonic tree and began to worship this tree. Sound like a Christmas tree, right? And so everything started to go bad in that town. Everything was horrible. So that this guy, he's like, you know what? Had it with this fucking tree, right? Picks up his axe. He's going straight down in town. He's like, I'm chopping that tree down. Like me, right? I go right out to the big G, right? Get me to the Freemason Hall. I'm like, let me chop that sucker down, right? On the way, he meets Satan and has a talk with Satan. And Satan says, I'll tell you what, why don't you just not worry about any of this stuff here? And you know, I understand your life sucks and it's not prosperous anymore. And I'll tell you what, we'll cut a deal. I'll give you 2 gold pieces every day. I'll leave them right at your door, and you just pay this no more mind, okay? And the guy's like, okay, deal. And he gets his 2 gold pieces 2 days in a row, and he's like, all right, Satan's cool. 3rd day, no 2 gold pieces. He's like, you know what? I'm going right down. I'm going to chop that tree down. Picks up his axe. He starts going walking down that tree. Meets Satan again. And this time, unlike the last time, because he kicked Satan's ass the first time. And Satan's like, fine, I give you the 2. I left that out of the story. This time, he goes down there and Satan kicks his ass. Okay? And he's like, to God, he's like, God, what's the deal, yo? Like, I kicked Satan's ass the other day. What happened? He said, well, you went down there the first time, you know, to help your town for the glory of God and cut down Satan. But the second time, he said you got your ass kicked because you were fighting for 2 gold pieces. And so that's why I didn't come to you. So, Darrow and everyone, understand that that is the work, the glory of God. God loves you, Darrow. God loves me. God loves each individual. God loves us all beyond what is comprehensible, actually. That's the fear. If you comprehended fully how much God loved you, you would, this is what happens. The opposite of fear happens, and you feel a deep need to be forgiven because you feared ever, because you ever had fear, because God created you and sent you down here and had your back the whole time. But you feared, right? So really, once you become aware of what's really going on, you really, really just understand how much God loves you. And it really, for me, puts me close to tears almost all the time I'm awake. And I know that sounds incomprehensible, but once you get connected to God, that is the feeling of absolute and complete and total bliss with your Creator. So when you have that realization that God has your back, then you really ask to be forgiven for acting in ways that were contrary to that, that you didn't think God had your back when God loves you beyond your capacity to love yourself. God loves you more. God loved you enough to create this whole place and bring you down here. So it's really it is incomprehensible to see how much you're loved, that we're under a dome in a very physically small enclosure. Someone loves us enough to tend this garden exactly and to have us go through this whole thing. We're loved beyond what's really the capacity to understand love. So the fear will ebb over time as you have the experience of doing this work. Think of it as a ladder, you climb that first rung, get that first little thing off your credit report, you're like, whoa, that worked? I thought that dude was lying about the whole thing. I thought he faked all those original documents. Like, I thought he was faking this whole script the whole time. No, that's the news and them. That's not me. But see, everyone has been made to look like, lies are real. So you can't even recognize truth. It's like not possible. And I'm the only one out there with it. So everyone's like, oh, that can't be real. I'm like, they're the original documents. They're everything, right? Oh, that can't be real. Why? Because I would be afraid if it was, and none of my life would make sense. Yes, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. Your entire life makes no sense because you don't love God, and you need to love God. Okay, a moment of silence. Thank you, Dara, for blessing us with your time to go through all this and meeting you. And I hope that this was worth the wait, and I hope it serves others too. So thank you for your time and your willingness to do this publicly. I hope I haven't overstepped my boundaries. I asked you, and if you're feeling different about it, just I'll take the video down. Whatever, I'm fine with that too. Anyway, so thank you so much, and thanks for joining me, and thanks to all of you doing this work out there. Because see, if it's just one individual doing it as it was for so long, people are like, well, why isn't anyone else doing this? Why isn't anyone else experiencing success? Well, now they are. So thank you all early adopters on loving yourself and God enough to go out there and prove to others that this is real, that this is our real life, that the one we were taught is a fake life we do not have to be involved with. So yes, please use my tools to do your sole purpose, all for the glory of God. Please, everyone, please. Okay, so a moment of silence, please. Mer Baba. Avatar Mer Baba. Ki Jai. Jai Baba.